I've only just started this sentence and already I'm bored. So how do you hook a reader like me and keep me engaged throughout your story? Stay tuned to find out how. We've all heard it said 1,000 times. You need to hook your reader quickly in the first page, the first paragraph, even the first word if you can manage it. Now, there are a million ways of doing this, but for this video, I'm going to focus on a few book starters which suit action-oriented style books. If you like to write sprawling literary fiction, slice-of-life romance, or something similar, these may not work for you. But if you write crime fiction, urban fantasy, thrillers, action-packed sci-fi, and horror, then stick around. Before I get to the hooks, I'd love it if you could subscribe to my channel and hit the bell. It really does help. I'll just wait now while you do that. Go on. I'm still waiting. Okay, so the central idea behind this technique is what I like to call the hook and bucket strategy. Now, I'm no fisherman, so apologies to those that are. I know very little about the hooking of fish and reels and water and such. This idea is simple. If you can hook your reader fast, get them out of the water and into your bucket, then you can take a little time after that to set the scene for your novel, safe in the knowledge that for a while at least, your reader isn't going anywhere. If you're writing a novel with a lot of action, there's nothing quite like starting with a broken bone or a mortal wound. Starting with immediate and violent action like this will have two very important effects on your reader. First, you'll have them awake and paying attention right away. Secondly, odds are they'll be intrigued as to why this is even happening. I mean, I haven't even gotten to know this character yet, and already they're lying in a gutter with 2 broken wrists and a life-threatening wound? What is this, executive decision or something? Now, I'm partial to the broken bone strategy because it's violent, serious, but not life-threatening. So you can throw your protagonist right into the action without having to backstep from a mortal wound. Another thing I like about these kinds of wounds is that they take time to heal. You can have an injury like this linger with your protagonist for a while, maybe even for the whole book. Then there's the question of who is doing the bone breaking. This one immediate and violent act gives you lots of options as a writer. And the fact that the reader has already been thrown into the action means that you've got a little time to start world building, time where your reader isn't likely to put down your book. Start with your protagonist dangling from a cliff, trying desperately to hold on to a golden medallion, a tattered manuscript, a companion or an enemy, a camera, a burrito. The moment your hero drops that object, it immediately becomes precious to the reader, something of incredible value that has been irretrievably lost. Now, the fact is that object could be nothing. It could have no bearing on the larger story whatsoever. But the way the scene is set from the beginning, your readers are going to feel convinced that there's something vital that has just been lost. Your protagonist doesn't need to be dangling from a cliff or the edge of a volcano. They could be standing in the rain, holding a scrap of paper as the ink slowly runs, or desperately trying to pat out the flames, devouring an ancient map. The key here is intrigue. Intrigue generated by the loss of something important, which in turn is communicated to the reader by the desperation of your protagonist. Why not start with an ending? A figure lies sprawled on the floor, scrawling last words with their own blood as they breathe their final breath. Family members are gathered around a relative's deathbed, and as he pulls the oxygen mask from his mouth, the aged patriarch utters a single word which shocks and offends everyone in the room. Cabbage. A young woman is locked inside a capsule, running out of air and desperately scratching a message into the bulkhead with a piece of metal. These give you a great way of getting an important message out to a reader early on while still being gripping to read. These final words, either written or spoken, can be a thread which binds your whole novel together, or a tool used to lead to the real plot which develops a little later on. Either way, starting with a death and some intriguing message is a great way to kickstart your book and hook readers early. Each of these hooks has 2 important elements. They're exciting and they're intriguing. The reader is instantly drawn into the narrative, but also has a bunch of questions buzzing around inside their head as to the who, the why, and the how of it all. Now that you've hooked your reader, not only will you have some time to begin building out the larger world of the story, your readers will be desperate to find answers to the questions raised in the first few paragraphs of your book. Now, to find out what kind of writer you are and whether or not these kinds of hooks will work for your book, check out my video in the link above. And as always, keep it real, keep it safe.